Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com. Here to talk about a fight that was announced earlier today. Roy Jones Jr., who last fought at 175 pounds, announced that he was going to gain 25 pounds, or at least fight at the 200-pound limit against the fighter who I had picked to beat Marco Huck, and I believe he did just that, Denis Lebedev, in Lebedev's home country of Russia. Now just remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. I've gotten emails about this fight, comments on YouTube, comments on my channel page on YouTube, and I hope you stop by and visit and leave your comments. And the consensus is that Roy Jones is crazy. He's 42 years old. How does this guy expect to win against a guy who knocked out Enzo Maccarinelli, a guy who knocked out Alexiev, a guy who, quite frankly, went to Germany and, in the eyes of many, beat Marco Huck? Unfortunately, those eyes did not include the judges' eyes. I would challenge anyone to look at that fight and judge for themselves. Let me just say, I think Roy Jones is a live underdog in this fight. That's why I'm making this video. My recommended play here, and the odds haven't posted. And I know there's a group out there that is upset every time I make a video before the odds post. Let me just say, get over it. I'm simply one voice online in a universe of many. I cannot sway the betting line. Let me just say this. I expect Denis Lebedev to be a huge favorite in the fight. Huge. The way I plan on playing this, my recommendation is that you do what I call a stagger on this fight, and that's to set up the betting. You want to straddle, where you have some money on Denis Lebedev by KO, and then you have money on Roy Jones to win the fight. I'll be surprised if you don't get at least a plus 250 on Roy Jones, since Roy Jones has lost his last two fights by wide margins, right? He was knocked out by Danny Green. He came back, he got unanimously decisioned by Bernard Hopkins. I believe you're going to get at least a plus 250 on Roy Jones. The way I would structure the bet is, if Lebedev wins by knockout, I would just want the bet to be a wash, right? Because really, my goal on the bet is just to win if Roy Jones wins the fight, which I suspect he has at least a 50% chance of doing, right? In other words, you just want to have some money on Lebedev so that if he gets the knockout, then you're covered, right? Your real goal is to make money on the Roy Jones side of the bet. Hold on a second. Let's talk about the fight. Styles make fights. I'm not here to say that Roy Jones is better than Denis Lebedev. Lebedev is younger. He's a southpaw. He really throws one of the best left hands in boxing. He's aggressive. He's there. He's always prepared to fight. He takes tough fights. He's an excellent fighter. The problem I see is just based on styles. To beat Roy Jones, you really do need to smother him. You need to do what Joe Calzaghe did. Get up on Jones, throw very heavy volume, force Jones up on the ropes, keep him there, batter him for 12 rounds, right? Or you need to do what Danny Green did, and understand, for all the Danny Green critics out there, just understand that Danny Green is one of those rare fighters who hits hard with both hands. Danny Green can take you out left-handed. Danny Green can take you out right-handed. That's a different dynamic than Denis Lebedev. So Danny Green maneuvered Roy over to the ropes. You'll notice where that knockout took place. Roy is in a corner. And then Danny Green dropped the bomb on Roy, finished him off. Now, Roy Jones, when he fights one-handed fighters, like Jeff, Left Hook Lacey, one of the more accurate nicknames in boxing. When he fights one-handed fighters, Roy Jones is almost impossible to beat. Jones is able up close to completely neutralize the guy's main weapon, leaving nothing else there. Also, you know, when Jones fights what I call mid-range fighters, guys who don't come in to smother him, guys who literally like to box, they like to stay a few feet away from you, kind of like Craig McEwen did when he was fighting Andy Lee in a fight. Quite frankly, now I picked Lee in that fight, but as the fight was going on, I thought if McEwen just steps inside and keeps the pressure on Lee, he'll break Lee's pipes, right? Pressure breaks pipes. Unfortunately, that's not who Craig McEwen was. He kept fighting at mid-range. That's the problem that Denis Lebedev is going to have. Look at his fights. You're going to see that Lebedev doesn't come inside and then apply pressure. He's not a pressure fighter. He's aggressive, but he's aggressive about 2.5 feet from you, right? He throws a right-handed jab. He's just trying to set up a brutal left hand that when it hits, takes people out. Look at Alexeyev after he hits the canvas. He looks like Trevor Burbank did against Mike Tyson. Tries to get up, can't do it, right? Keeps falling back down. Such is the power that Lebedev has. Here's the problem. A mid-range fighter against Roy Jones, who's one-handed, is going to have all kinds of problems. First, I don't expect Denis Lebedev to be able to land his lead jab, right? Lebedev is going to be looking for Jones. Understand, Jones can move against guys who don't know how to smother him, right? Bernard Hopkins beat Jones by putting his head down and tracking Jones, right? Look at the beginning part of that fight. Bernard Hopkins is constantly pressuring Jones. Keep in mind, Bernard had more than a decade between fights to study Roy Jones. He understood that the way to beat an ambush fighter like Roy Jones, and keep in mind, Roy Jones literally created an entire style of boxing, right? You see it now with David Haye. You see it now with Brad Sullivan. All of those critics who say that Jones is technically deficient and he's doing everything wrong, they don't understand that Jones literally created a new boxing approach, right? The thing with Jones's approach is you don't land the jab on him. He's outside. He's moving around. He's hitting you with pretty hard punches. If you can't pressure him over to the ropes and do more than throw one hand, Roy Jones has you. Now here, I agree with the critics who say that, Roy Jones at 42 is certainly not Roy Jones at 26. Roy Jones's chin has to be questioned. Anyone who saw one of 3 fights, the Antonio Tarver fight, KO, second round, the Glenn Johnson fight, where Roy Jones was on the canvas for something like over a minute, right? And of course, the Danny Green fight, where Roy Jones is so shelled that when he gets off the canvas, he cannot throw a single punch on Danny Green. Anyone who's seen those 3 fights understands that Roy Jones's chin is no longer what it was. If Lebedev is able to land that left on Roy Jones, then it's good night. I think Lebedev takes it by KO. But what I think might happen, I think there's an equal chance here that Jones, the heavy underdog, actually is able to stay outside, completely outbox Denis Lebedev. Then when Lebedev gets inside, he doesn't know what to do inside already, right? He's not an Andre Ward inside. Not only that, he's, left-handed, that left hook is going to be neutralized just like Jones neutralized Jeff Lacey's left hook. I believe the margin is going to be so wide, just from a boxing standpoint, that Lebedev's only chance of winning the fight is by KO. I think Roy Jones, too, with the weight difference, is genius because understand, historically, um, smart fighters know that when they move up in weight, if they maintain at least some kind of, you know, uh, you know, physical fitness, they should be much faster than their opponent. Jones already is faster than Lebedev, right? Now, normally I'm a skeptic of older fighters who move up in weight, but in this case, I believe Jones has been artificially dehydrated at 175. I think when he gains a little weight, I believe that he's going to do just fine, just like Bernard Hopkins, who stayed at 160 too long, has been doing fine at 175. I think Jones is going to be much faster than Lebedev. Because Lebedev doesn't come inside, I don't think the extra weight on Lebedev is going to matter that much, just like the extra weight on John Ruiz didn't matter when Jones won the heavyweight title a few years ago. I think Jones is a live dog in this one. As I said, you want to straddle. Lebedev by KO. Let's say you're getting even money on that, or maybe even worse than even money. On the Jones side of the equation, you should be getting, just on Roy Jones to win, you should be getting a plus 250 and higher. And my point is, you want to set up the bet. So if Lebedev wins by knockout, you don't lose anything, but you don't really gain anything. If Roy Jones just wins the fight, you win big, and then we have one of the more compelling storylines of boxing, Jones with legitimacy at 200 trying to get a fight with David Haye. I think that's a fascinating fight, by the way. Jones Haye at heavyweight. Also, Jones might even be angling to get a fight with Marco Huck. Quite frankly, based on styles, I think Huck would be a tougher opponent for Jones than Denis Lebedev. Keep in mind, too, I know USS Cunningham is really ruling the roost at 200. All I can say is Cunningham did lose to Tomas Ademic, who has remade himself into a mover in the ring. I think that a skillful fighter looking at that blueprint might see some things that he could use. Jones continues even now to have one of the best left hooks in boxing. So I think this fight is a toss-up. I think Roy Jones, a big underdog, actually has a good chance of pulling the upset in this fight. I think this is going to be one of the more compelling fights we've seen. Um, I'm looking forward to it. Let me know what you think. Leave your comments for me here at gamblersadvisory.com or on YouTube. And all I ask is that after the fight, win, lose, or draw, stop by, tell us what surprised you in the fight, tell us what went as you expected, and tell us what you see as the future for the winner of this fight and for the loser. Thanks for watching.